works. I have to, or whatever, a framework that I adopt in order to point in how I deal with evidence, but the evidence doesn't increase the odds of that, because there are things that, like, you can't prove, whatever. Anyways, go ahead.
Okay, but like if we're having a debate and you go, well, I don't have to justify my starting point. Well, then I win.
Yeah, like you don't. Yeah, because it's presupposed.
Then I win the debate, because then if you.
No, I win the debate because I presuppose that you're wrong, and you presuppose that you're right. But I presuppose that you're wrong, so I win the debate.
How? What?
How? By presupposing it. You guys literally don't ever try to, like, the whole tactic is just to say, well, I proved that the contrary is impossible. Okay, how about shift the burden of proof to yourself? No, I don't have to do that. Like, just presupposing that you are correct.
That's not what we're doing. So we're giving reasons for why we're correct. But debate is a reason-giving game. We're supposed to give reasons for our position in the debate. So my reason for
because you.
I have to explain to Peterson how debates work. Like, this is so bad. Yes, Planet Peterson. So debate is a reason-giving game. And when you're not giving a reason for your position, that's called losing the debate.
About my presuppositions, and presuppositions aren't justified.
Yes, they are.
I don't agree with that, though. I justify my.
Okay, well, that's just literally what a presupposition is.
Literally not what it is.
It's literally not the case. I don't agree.
Yes, it is. It's presupposed.
Okay, but we would use a transcendental.
Presupposition. A thing tacitly assumed beforehand at the beginning of a line of argument or course of action.
Yeah, you know what you should Google? You should Google word concept fallacy, okay? Just because I'm using a word doesn't mean the concept that I'm referring to is the definition, the colloquial definition of the word. Because within the concept of Van Til's presuppositional program, within the Van Tillian context, a presupposition is going to refer to a foundational belief we use to evaluate and interpret reality. So he's holding me to a definition of presupposition that would it's a word concept fallacy. Words have multiple definitions. You can't just pin me down on one definition. I'm allowed to have a proprietary definition of a word within a philosophical program.
So it's a starting point for how you go about doing things or giving a line of argumentation.
Sure, but if you're starting...
No, it's a starting point for describing reality.
Isn't justified, then all of your reasoning...
Presuppositions aren't justified. They are tacitly assumed.
No, I justify my presuppositions, because if you don't...
Go ahead and tell me how you do it.
Well, they're both tacitly assumed and justified.
Use a presuppositional argument.
So you would
It's not a,
yeah,
not a dichotomy.
Right, so the presuppositional argument, we would, when we're dealing with starting point, first principle, belief, we can't use a correspondence theory of truth because that's the belief we use to evaluate reality, so there's no reality to correspond to.
So you can't recursively justify your presupposition with anything that the presupposition is designed in order to allow you to do?
He's saying that I can't indirectly prove my presupposition. Well, why not? Like, if I have an apple, wouldn't that be indirect proof? Like, if I go to a planet and I find an apple, the apple would be an indirect proof that there's an apple tree on the planet. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with indirect proof? Because I know that for there to be an apple, there has to be an apple tree. Because on Earth, apples come from apple trees. So you can't have an apple without an apple tree. So an apple would be an indirect proof of an apple tree because of the necessary relationship. Now, if we know that knowledge and God have a similar necessary relationship, you can't have one without the other, then we know that from the fact, in virtue of the fact that I have knowledge or that Planet Peterson has knowledge, that God exists.
That's exactly what I said. So, what do you want to talk about next?
What do you want to talk
we
about
use
next?
The coherentist theory of truth, right? We all have to use inductive reasoning, which means our presuppositions have to account for the problem of induction. And since the Christian presupposition can account for the problem of induction, which is necessary for like
explain to me how it accounts for it.
Explain to me how it accounts for it.
So in the Christian worldview, we know that like gravity is going to hold day by day by day because it's like,
explain to me how you know that.
Because it's part of God's plan, and then He reveals that knowledge to us. Revelation.
Explain to me how you know that.
That is the explanation.
Explain to me how you know that. Explain to me how you know that. I have no idea what to say. I can't debate. I'm a 7th grade science teacher.
That is the explanation, that it's revealed to you. So what's to stop me if the truth revealed to me that God doesn't exist?
Truth revealed to me that God doesn't exist. What is this baby crap, dude? How is that comparable? Him going, truth revealed to me that God doesn't exist. What is it? What is truth? What does that even mean? What I'm presenting, look, we have Abraham, Moses, Jesus, the word of God written down in Scripture, right? The prophets, we have the prophets that bear witness to the word of God, who we know that they're speaking to us from God because the miracles they perform, the history of the church. Okay, I'm not just making that up. That's in history. We have books. It's documented. So why would you just inventing? Oh, I just heard a voice say to me in my dream last night. Blah blah blah. That's not comparable to something tangible like the history that he doesn't. This is so low tier.
Because like when we're talking about a worldview, our starting point, we're talking about reality. We're not talking about a hypothetical.
Right. Our starting point, our first principle is about reality. It's not hypothetical. Our hypothetical starting point, our could be starting point, our maybe starting point, our seems like it starting point, our intuitively it would be like starting point. No, it's real. We're talking about really real reality. It's real. This ain't no anime debate.
I'm not giving you a hypothetical. I'm telling you that
this ain't no anime debate. Look, if you want to do the anime debate, then get out of the God debate. When we're talking about God, we're talking about reality. We're not anime debaters. Anime debaters, GTFO.
This really happened. The truth revealed to me that God doesn't exist.
This is anime. So truth revealed to me God doesn't exist. That's basically like going, well, Goku did a Kamehameha in Super Saiyan God Ultra Instincts form, and Jesus wouldn't be able to have the power level that Goku. I mean, this is basically what he's doing.
How is that? Is that equal to your claim? Worse than your claim? Better than your claim?
So imagine I provided like empirical evidence that the dog was in the backyard, right? And you said, well, hypothetically, it could be in the kitchen. Does your hypothetical trump my empirical evidence? No.
No, but you didn't give empirical evidence, and I didn't give you a hypothetical.
Well, see...
Well, I kind of said hypothetically, I said hypothetically what's stopping me from saying that, or like what would your counter to it be? But you didn't empirically prove anything. You just gave me a list of worldview.
Well, yeah, it wasn't so much a hypothetical as a pathetical. Like, there's tangible evidence.
I said you didn't give me a hypothetical, you gave me a pathetical.
In my position, right? Like, because the Bible's tangible, the history of the church is tangible, and then there's like metaphysics that are tangible.
I
Like, when you're talking about
me.
like, oh, the truth revealed this to me that there's no God. There's nothing tangible there to support. So that you're just.
There's nothing tangible about your personal revelation, which is what this all came down to.
I'm not appealing to a personal revelation. I'm appealing to natural and special revelation.
Yeah, he thinks I'm appealing to my imagination. No, I'm appealing to, look, I didn't imagineer the Bible, okay? The Bible is tangible and existed before any of us existed. It's old as hell. And I'm also appealing to things like the history of the church. That's tangible, okay? You know what else is tangible? The uniformity of nature. You're talking. Your talking is tangible. So for you to talk, there has to be uniformity of nature. For there to be uniformity of nature, the claims of the Bible have to be true. I mean, this is all tangible. This is not, I'm appealing to, God told me in my sleep in a dream, Jesus came to me in my dream, and he goes, guess what? I'm real. And so Jesus is real because I dreamed it.
What's tangible about those things?
Well, like, history is tangible. I didn't invent that, right? That's not just a fantasy. It's a real.
You're not really tracking here. So I actually have some questions. Like, I'm not.
He tells me that I'm not tracking it, and then he changed the subject. So I'm trying to explain to him that history is tangible. Planet Peterson apparently doesn't understand that history. Yes, history is tangible. People, yes.
Trying to be a dick or anything, and I don't think you are either. Like, just for the record, but I wanted to ask you some questions about this whole thing, because what I typically like to take this is I ask people that adopt this framework, if you had two people, like if you had an identical twin brother, but he was not a presuppositionalist, what is your brother incapable of doing that you are capable of doing other than reaffirming your presuppositions?
If you had an identical twin brother, what is he capable of doing other than you? What is this question? It's like, so I have a twin brother, and my twin brother doesn't believe in gravity. Okay? So what's the difference between you, who believes in gravity, and your twin brother who doesn't believe in gravity? Does gravity affect you guys differently? Like, this is a dumb question.
Is there anything?
I mean, it's just like someone who doesn't.
Hold on, I got a Nazi in my chat.
Oh, that's no good.
How do I block this person?
Block him.
Give me a moment here.
Yahtzee alert.
Oh yeah, this is on YouTube. Okay, hold on. I just put user.
Hey, I can agree with Planet Peterson that Yahtzees are bad. But when I say they're bad, they're actually bad. When Planet Peterson says a Yahtzee's bad, it's just a pretend Planet Peterson fantasy bad.
I'm out for 24 hours there. Yeah. Sorry about that. Anyways, what's going on?
Planet Pretend Peterson. I'm gonna go pretend that I'm a debater.
Say that, like, as a Christian, I'm capable of debating and it, like, can get somewhere. Because, like, without God, if we disagree, there's no, like, standards to determine who's correct. That's the problem with it.
Right, so how's that not doing anything other than what I said was reaffirming your presupposition? You're just saying other people that don't adopt my framework are wrong and they can't make a case for being right, and I can. Yeah, that's your worldview. Other than...
Is he nuts? Dude, I said, like, I would have an objective stand. If I debate, I have an objective standard, which would be a necessary precondition to debate. My brother, who doesn't believe in God, would have no standards, and so when he debates, he would be contradicting himself at a fundamental level. It would be cognitive dissonance for my brother to debate. But debate would be consistent within my starting point, my first principle. What's nonsense? This ain't no nonsense. We don't allow I ban the nonsense. The Bible is tangible because it's a book you can touch, not because of content. This channel is hardly worth y'all's time. Just block and move on. See ya. How is Christianity scientifically proven? Well, the fact that science is possible would prove Christianity, because science is only possible if Christianity is true. Ginger Destroyer says, a paradox for you. Can God create a being more powerful than himself? No, he cannot. How can a religion be objectively proven? Well, we would say the worldview, the Christian worldview, the paradigm is proven because transcendental arguments prove paradigms. Well, God is omnipotent, which would mean he's like maximally powerful. He can't do everything, right? Like God couldn't cease to exist, or God couldn't sin.
Like, do you think a presuppositionalist scientist would be able to invent things that a secular scientist would not and never could be able to?
And like belief in God isn't going to necessarily make science better, but it could give your science like purpose and direction because of that.
Yeah, being a Christian doesn't make your science better, but it gives your science purpose and meaning.
Oh God, science really has no.
Just again reaffirming your beliefs and presuppositions. It doesn't do anything.
Of course it does something. If God exists, then there's purpose and meaning inherently within the fabric of reality, and there'd be like a connection between the human mind and the objects of knowledge in the natural world. So like that would give science meaning and purpose. Like we'd have, like when we do science, we should go, what would Jesus do? Or what what type of science would God want us to do, right? So because we don't submit, so here's a lot of problems because of this, right? Okay, I'll give you examples. So and like if you look at like a company that's trying to make money, and a lot of companies do our science, right? So like pharmaceutical companies started with like penicillin, for example. Well, penicillin's great because you can sell it to like millions of people, because millions of people need penicillin. But if you have like a rare disease that only affects like 1 out of, I don't know, 100,000 people or something, or maybe like 10,000 people, it's not profitable for a company to make medicine for that disease, right? But like if we were doing science in the name of God, then we would think about everyone, and we wouldn't just do science to make money. We would do science to help people and service to others of love. So because there was no incentive to do science towards like these diseases that only affect like a very small amount of people, it's not profitable. Congress had to pass legislation and laws that gave Pharmaceutical companies like huge government like tax breaks and money and incentives to make medicine. So this is because Jesus isn't involved in science. With that, and then but this doesn't fix the problem either because now that there's all these like tax benefits to help the minorities now, the majority can get ignored, right? So it society creates weird problems that Christianity fixes. This is so dumb. Yeah.
I mean, it gives us like a standard to see like who's right or wrong. Without God
According to you.
no,
So,
no, it's an objective standard.
according to you, yeah. You define it to be that way.
According to you, he doesn't get this. It's so.
No, think about
It's
this.
not. It's not according to me, right? Like I didn't make the rules of debate. I don't decide what's the necessary precondition to debate. It's not according to me, right? It's just a fact that to debate there has to be objective knowledge or objective truth. If there's no objective truth that you and me share, we can't debate. There also has to be objective morals. Because if you make an argument and there's no reason to value your argument or like there's no I ought to believe your argument,
Hello.
then
Everything
your
good?
argument has no force and you can't make an argument. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Everything good?
Yeah, and I didn't make these rules. They're just objective rules to debate.
All right.
And that's
Could you like fast explain to me how Christianity is objectively proven? Firstly,
yeah. If we ask the question like, what's necessary precondition to have an argument, right, or debate? And to debate, you're going to need things like objective truth and objective morals.
objective morals to debate.
Right, because if you make an
What?
argument and there's no like I ought to believe your argument, right? Then there's no reason to believe your argument.
Again,
We
my
don't.
question to you was, can you please explain? It's not a debate. It's just an explanation. Could you explain why you believe Christianity is an objective truth?
Well, yeah, because like without Christianity, there would be no objective morals, and without objective
And
morals,
that's false.
how would you have objective morals without Jesus?
So again, this guy said right now, he said the reason why Christianity is objectively proven is because the only way you can get objective morals is through the Christianity, which is wrong. In any case that you believe in as a God that has eternal knowledge, which understands and gives you the law of morals. For instance, Judaism, you have objective morality. If the God of Judaism is true. In Islam, you also have objective morality.
Yeah, but those
In Hinduism, you have objective.
yeah, but those no. In Judaism and like in any of those other worldviews, there's going to be problems that make knowledge impossible from the starting point.
It doesn't matter. Just because a condition of something to be objective is not whether it is hard or easy for you, right? It is not a condition.
What?
If you say, for instance, the reason why Judaism's morals are not objective is because it's hard. Hard is not a condition for it to be objective. An objective truth, right? You don't follow?
So Judaism and Islam, they would make knowledge impossible. You couldn't
Knowledge.
You couldn't have objective morals in those systems either.
How?
Like in Islam, Allah lies, right?
Allah lies where?
He's called the Great Deceiver.
He's not.
Oh, yes, he is. So you're lying now? Okay.
No, I'm not lying.
Well, you are lying.
No, because if you go to the verse and understand, right, it is speaking about Jesus being crucified on us.
The Quran says Allah is the great deceiver.
No, it doesn't. Go to any translation where you find deceive, right? So when you go, for instance, to...
You're lying, dude.
Okay, one second. It's interesting. This is interesting. In the Quran, the verse is commonly translated into English as the best of planners, right? Because the Jews made a plan, and God also planned, and God is the best of planners, right? If you said deceive, then you would say the Jews deceived. Who did they deceive? They didn't lie to anyone. They were straightforward. They were straightforward with their plan to crucify Jesus, right? They didn't deceive anyone. So the verse is commonly translated as basically the disbelievers planned, and God planned, and God is the best of planners, right? But the thing is, you speaking about deceiving, right? Have you read your Bible?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
They always lie, dude. Every time. I don't really like. It's just like I don't want to like debate someone that's just gonna lie, because now I'm at a disadvantage, you know? Because I'm trying to not lie. So when my opponent lies, it's like it hurts my feelings.
Mouse. David says in the Old Testament that God deceived him. A response?
No, the Christian God never. He's always truth revealing.
Okay, so David, when he speaks in the Bible saying God deceived him, what's your response?
I don't know that particular. I don't know that.
Yeah, I can give you the verse. It's not very hard. We got Google 2025, right?
Right.
Do you want me to give you the verse?
Okay, give me the verse.
Okay, 1 second.
Amazing. Bible study with people that hate God. I love it. You learn the most about the Bible from the people that despise Jesus and don't believe him. I know so much because all these people that don't believe what Jesus says, they teach me about Jesus. It's great. All the contradictions, and he's a big meanie. Jay Dyer versus Strange Heritage.
Jeremiah 4:10. Right? Yeah. It's not really a Bible study, as you said, because truly it is nothing more than me just enlightening you in this topic, right? Oh. Jeremiah 4:10. Right? And also David in the same incidents, he speaks. And also David, Jeremiah chapter 4 verse 10. And also David, he speaks about God deceiving him. Now, is this a big problem for your theology?
What is it, chapter 10?
Chapter 4.
Verse 10.
Right. Can you read it loudly? Out loud?
Yeah, give me a sec. Then I said, sovereign Lord, how completely you have deceived this people and Jerusalem by saying, you will have peace when the sword is at their throats.
Okay, so who deceived the people of Jerusalem?
This verse comes from a time when Jeremiah was prophesying to the people of Judah.
Yes, so who deceived?
Disaster and destruction they would face due to their sin and idolatry. The
Yes.
people of Judah were living in denial, refusing to accept the warnings. False prophets were telling them that everything was going to be fine, that they would have peace. But God was telling Jeremiah the opposite, that disaster was coming. In this particular verse, Jeremiah is expressing confusion and frustration. He's essentially saying, God, you've told the people they'll have peace, but that's not true. Judgment and destruction are coming instead. It sounds like Jeremiah is accusing God of misleading the people, which is why the verse contains the phrase, how completely you have deceived this people.
Could you come back to the chat, right? Could you come back? All right. So who deceived?
Well, are we doing Bible study or not?
No, it's not Bible study. I mean, just a question. You said in Islam the God deceived. I say no. In this verse, it is translated as best of planners. These believers planned. They planned of crucified Jesus. God also planned, and God is the best of planners. This is the translation. 1 second. No, it is not. I am not. Right? I am not lying. Still, you have the word verbatimly. What it says is deceived.
Oh, that was too loud. That was too loud.
Fatality. All too easy. Outstanding.
So, does God lie? From the biblical perspective, the idea that God could lie is directly contradicted by multiple passages. For example, in Numbers 23:19, it says, God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should change his mind. And Titus 1:2 also says, God who does not lie promised before the beginning of time. So in theological terms, God does not lie. The apparent deception in Jeremiah 4:10 is not because God is lying, but because people have misunderstood his message or are willfully ignoring the true consequences of their actions. God, through Jeremiah, was warning them about disaster that would come if they didn't repent. The false prophets were misleading the people by telling them everything was fine, which led to the confusion Jeremiah expressed. So Jeremiah's words here are not the claim that God is being deceptive in an immoral or sinful way. Instead, he's expressing the confusion and grief of seeing the people reject God's warnings, which leads them to believe a false sense of security. The deception is more about the misunderstanding of God's warning or the contrast between the people's false hope and the coming judgment. To sum it up, Jeremiah's statement, in his way of pointing out the irony that while the people think they're safe due to false prophecies, disaster is about to strike, God doesn't lie. He's warning them of the consequences, but they refuse to listen. Okay. And I've talked to a bunch of people who speak Arab, and they all tell me that the Quran says that Allah is the great deceiver. But that Muslim apologists lie and say that he's not the great. The Quran doesn't say he's a liar. It actually does say that.
There's as far as I know, I'm not a scholar or whatever. I've just looked into that, and there's some debate about whether or not. Apparently, there's some debate about whether or not the word makir, which I think is the one to practice deceit or guile, that some people think that like it could just be determined as like how to plan or to plot rather than to scheme.
That's a lie, though, right? So
what's a lie?
So when Muslims,
I mean, I don't want to get into it. I'm saying for because I'm going to be honest and say I don't have knowledge and scholarship on this. I just know of debate around this that word is not as cut and dry as liar, deceiver kind of thing. It's not.
It's incorrect.
How's it incorrect?
It's very clear that it's saying he's the great deceiver, but as an opponent, Muslims know that like most English-speaking people don't speak Arab, right? So they take advantage of your ignorance and they try and like lie to you and say it's not saying he's a deceiver when that's exactly what it's saying. Because I've talked to native Arab speakers who will say that they're lying, that they're trying to take advantage of you because you don't know Arab.
Okay, I mean, I don't, just have like a super cursory glance at like just like Google Scholar and some stuff writing on it. I doubt that the only reason that people would postulate that is because they're trying to lie to you, and it's all just an apologetic. We could end up on the side of.
To think that though. I've talked to native Arab speakers. So
Okay,
you're wrong about that.
that's fine. I mean, your anecdotal thing about like speaking with people who speak the language, that's fine. I'm just saying, in a similar way, not through anecdotes, there are people who have published on this in academic works that may be doing an apologetic, but I don't think that's the only reason.
Fucking so sick of these people, dude.
Feel the power of Shao Kahn.
Well, there's a bunch of people requesting. No. Oh, here you can. Welcome. Hello.
Yeah. About abortion is child sacrifice.
Yeah.
What do you think that?
Because you're unaliving a preborn baby for sacrificing to like a false idol of bodily autonomy.
Okay. So I do not think he's a baby. I think the fetus under 3 months. I don't know the regulation in America, but here you can have an abortion if the fetus is under 3 months. And under 3 months, the fetus doesn't have a functional system. It's just animal cells. So yeah, he's not a being.
But like, if we can just arbitrarily decide who's a human being and who's not a human being, don't you see how like someone could decide that you're not a human being and that would be bad?
Yeah, but I am a functional human being.
I see.
Under any meaning of the word functional. Yeah, I'm a human being.
But you laugh, but like in America 200 years ago, there's a group of people that said African Americans were not human beings and that we had the right to own them as property, which is obviously wrong. So
Okay, yeah, I see that, but they were bigots and the ones that decided the limit of the abortion, so 3 months, are doctors. So yeah, pretty educated people. They know what they're doing. I studied in med school. I studied embryology, and a fetus under 3 months could not be defined a human being under any stretch of the word human being.
but they had science back then that said that like they weren't human beings because they had like lower IQ and things like that.
Yeah, but it wasn't scientifically proven. So yeah, there were scientists that
It's called science.
say something like that, but they weren't following science. They weren't following proofs or facts. They were just saying that because they were racist. So yeah, they
No,
weren't really science.
no, they were science. It was official science. It's called scientific racism, and people can look this up. And then people like you, like how you arbitrarily decide that preborn babies aren't humans. People arbitrarily decided that the scientific racism was now pseudoscience. There's no clear way to demarcate between science and pseudoscience.
Yeah, because they state a lot of facts that were proven wrong later on. So yeah, it was pseudoscience. They also said that their school was less big or something like that. And obviously it was wrong. They made so many claims that were objectively wrong. So yeah, it was pseudoscience.
All right, I think we're having a bit of a language barrier, but I think your argument's kind of racist, is what I was trying to make. Welcome.
I just wanted to quickly get to that part about. I think it was a little earlier. We're talking about God lies or doesn't lie. Do you think that regretting something is the same thing as lying?
No, God doesn't regret in terms of he wishes he did something else. He when the Bible says God has regret, it's just saying that he has extreme sorrow or sadness. He's disappointed, and like a father you probably experienced this, your father being really disappointed in you, right? That's how God feels about humanity.
Where are you getting that from? Because I'm not aware of the terminology, or at least even the Hebrew, that describes that word being something that could be substituted as sorrow instead of regret.
That's just what I remember, because we use anthropomorphisms to describe God, right? God doesn't have emotions. Like his wrath, for example, he's not actually angry like a human. That's just describing his justice.
I'm confused how you could say that, how you could make the distinction between something that is just an anthropomorphism and something that is actually describing God in the ways that you often defend for the omni traits.
There's no distinction. There's all anthropomorphisms.
But if certain ones can be concrete evidence for the omni traits, how come some of them just are, oh, well, that's actually this. It's not really that. It's just this.
What are you talking about, dude? When we say God's omnipotent, that's not an anthropomorphism, because that's not like a human quality.
I'm saying in the passages that you would look to affirm the fact that God is omnipotent. Those passages use the same words to describe God as all-powerful that you would say that's just anthropomorphizing. That's pretty backward.
No, that's completely stupid. So an anthropomorphism is when we take some human quality to describe God, like anger, wrath, regret. But then when we're talking about God being omnipotent or eternal or something, that's a divine quality. That's not an anthropomorphism, because that's not we don't know anything that's omnipotent.
We don't, I mean, there are other stories from the same time talking about all-powerful gods, but whether or not that's true, it all comes down to the wording used to describe it, and you're giving this intention to the writers that I don't know how you would get any evidence for that if you just read the text. I feel like it's a post hoc rationalization of what's going on there.
Fuck, dude. No, it's not.
I mean, you can just say that, brother, but how are you going to tell me it's not?
Because your interpretation is really dumb. Because let's just
That's also not an argument. I'm looking for evidence.
Right.
You're dumb is not an argument. That's what people say when they don't have anything else to say. Or that's stupid.
Well, I'm saying let's assume you're correct, and I'll show you how stupid it is, right? So let's say the Bible says I'm a jealous God. That's what he says, right?
Sure.
Okay, so that's a human quality, right? Jealousy. We've all experienced jealousy. Do you think it makes sense for God to be jealous in the same sense a human's jealous?
Yes.
Thanks for coming. You're just going to hell. You're a hopeless person. Please never request up.
You're not arguing with me. You're just going to kick me because I have things you can't answer for, right?
No, because you're contradicting. You're not arguing. An argument is an intellectual process. contradiction is just the automatic gainsaying at whatever I say.
Because I said I thought God could be jealous, I'm not engaging in an argument.
You're not engaging in an intellectual way. You're being immature and you're contradicting me. So I'm just not dealing with your
So
bullshit.
if I'm contradicting you, I should get kicked. You shouldn't just engage with my arguments.
You have to be intellectual. I have standards.
What?
Brutality. Flawless victory. All too easy. You weak, pathetic fool. Feel the wrath of Shao Kahn.
God. These people are so goofy. Disgusting.
What's up, nerds? How y'all? That other people can't see this, because if I were to come to you with a story like this today, if it didn't have the history and the baggage of not of actually being true, but of being convincing enough to foster a bunch of followers, nobody would reasonably all right, let me take that back. Almost nobody would argue that they could reasonably accept it today. And many of the people who are accepting these sorts of claims are also at odds with science, and it frustrates me that someone could, I don't know, fear getting a vaccine.
Oh, here we go. So Matt's account of science and disagreeing with science and disagreeing with what he takes to be the majority view, which is how he began. Remember, it's like what's reasonable to believe. Matt seemed to connect to the majority of what is considered reasonable, which that itself is absurd and arbitrary and incoherent. There's no reason, there's no way that we know prima facie what the majority position necessarily is. That begs the question, why should we accept the majority position? There have been many cases where the majority of people believe something completely ridiculous. Matt himself admits this when he admits that most people in the world have some view of theism or the supernatural. So most people consider it rational to believe in the supernatural. Therefore, on Matt's own grounds, it should be reasonable to believe in this. This is just so silly. Like Matt has no self-awareness. Like he's not totally incapable of self-reflection and understanding the pure garbage nonsense that he spits out.
For fear of being microchipped or it being the mark of the beast, while they accept claims that don't have good evidence.
So he threw in his little scientism affirmation, and I guess he's going to learn the hard way. But yeah, that was interesting that he threw that in at the end there. But yeah, I mean, does Matt know anything about the history of science and scientific abuse and the countless instances and examples where science was rife with fraud, with experimentation? No. But those things are historical facts. Even in Matt's own admission, they would be recent history. Well, he's not interested in that. He's interested in a pragmatic, low IQ, basic bitch idea that if you just follow the majority of science, like the T-dump stuff, like the level of stuff that T-dump says, right? Where it's true because most scientists say it. Are you serious? Number one, that's a fallacy, dummy. Like nothing is true because a bunch of people think it.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Trent. Those were two excellent opening statements. I'm gonna make an executive decision here, if that's okay. We kind of did agree upon it before the debate began, even though there was.
I will admit, really, that's all atheists have is rhetoric and storytelling. The appeal to emotion. I mean, the master of that is freaking what's his name?
Sam Harris.
Sam Harris, right? When we did multiple deconstructions of Sam Harris. I mean, literally the whole presentation of Sam Harris is emotional appeals. Like that's it. These people don't like. Do they not know what fallacies? I don't think they do. I really don't think that they understand that you can't do fallacies in a debate, and a skilled debater will just call them out. Trent's a pretty skilled debater, so I really hope that he calls out a lot of this just nonsense from Matt.
confusion. What I'd like to do is do 2 8-minute cross-examinations and then open it up to just kind of 20-minute general chat between the two of you, because I think that...
Well, Matt, I remember... Well, so this is going to get confusing. Frad, I remember Dillahunty. Sounds weird to do that, like I'm a sergeant or something. I remember Dillahunty saying that the original email only said just 30 to 45-minute discussion, which I don't know. I guess you're in charge, but I'm fine with whatever the original said. You're the host.
The reason I like the idea of you guys beginning with 8-minute cross-examinations, it'll put one of you in the driver's seat to kind of drill into the points the other was making, and you can be rude during that time. You can cut them off. You can press them.
Wait, what? Whoa. Matt Frad says you're allowed to interrupt, be rude, cut them off? Whoa. Wait a minute. I thought that was the reason I'm a bad guy. Yeah! So, Pints with Aquinas, Matt Frad, it's a double standard. So, if I do those things, I'm bad. When Matt allows it on his channel for his people, nothing wrong with that. Totally cool. Have at it, bro. Do you see the constant, just total double standard of the Roman Catholics? Like, how long can they milk this and keep this up, right? I mean, Lofton and his goober crew are 3 years into whining and crying about me being mean 3 years ago. These are the Crusaders, right? The sons of the crusading knights are 3 years into whining and crying about me being mean 3 years ago. And here's Matt Frad, who, of course, said, a year ago, which I don't give a crap about his channel. I wouldn't even go on there, but he made it explicit that he would never host someone like me on his channel. So I'm a toxic person now. But here's Matt saying, in the cross-examination, you can be rude, you can cut them off. Dude, this is such just lame hypocrisy. I mean, these guys are like paper tigers, dude. It's so fake and gray.
And then maybe
you're trying to give me a little leeway here. I come in with a reputation.
Well, see, that'll be good. Well, you'll have 8 minutes to just sort of be full Matt Dillahunt.
Matt, how is it that it's cool to be rude and cut people off when it's like an atheist? But if I do it, I'm a bad person. Literally, this guy thinks I'm a toxic person because of the very things that he just said Matt can do. I mean, this guy is a total hypocrite, dude.
It'll be great.
I'm fine with whatever. Tear me up, Trent.
Okay, well, I think we'll do that, and then we'll go into 20 minutes. Just the two of you can chat, and we'll see how civil and logical we can both be. But before we do that, I want to say,
Jay Dyer would never come on my channel. I would never host a toxic personality. I feel hurt and ashamed. I wept many nights, many years. I filled my whole beer stein full of me tears because Jay Dyer hurt me feelings. I would never, ever allow any of that toxic personality to toxify my channel. My channel is a place of love, a place of honor, a place of healing, a place of me sucking on fat cigars, drinking cake icing directly out of a beer stein, giving that over to Ibarra, sharing beer steins full of cake icing with Eric Ibarra. And I would just never, ever, ever, ever allow Jay Dyer here, because the goal of Pints of Aquinas is to fill those pints full of cake icing and to build back.
Right now at Les Schwab Tires, get 2 free oil changes.
He just like goes on and on with the icing cake.
Science is not purely neutral and it's not purely objective. Now, again, that doesn't mean that I'm saying there's no truth or that there's no objective truth. I'm just making the point that truth, in my view, is not determined just by reading off a list of facts or presenting a bunch of things in front of someone. It's really a deeper question of worldviews and paradigms, is what I'm trying to say. So that is the first text that comes to mind when we consider the bigger questions and characters that will make up continental philosophy in contrast to the analytical Western tradition. And next, I want to call your attention to Structures of Scientific Revolution by Thomas Kuhn. And of course, this is a very famous book, award-winning book. I'm not saying that makes it true. I'm just saying it's very well known. And it's well known for a reason, because it makes a damn good point. Kuhn makes the argument that the times in history that we've had these giant paradigm shifts, out of, say, Renaissance Platonism or medieval theology and Platonism into Descartes and scientific revolution and then into Newtonianism, there were big scale political and monetary banking, etc. I'm adding that part from like Tragedy and Hope. There were other events that played a role in, quote, science. And so science is not just this thing where, everybody's just, salivating and licking their lips to be wrong, and that's how it's presented. It's like, all we want is to be wrong. We can't wait to be refuted, which is total nonsense. I mean, that's just not human nature, for one. Nobody ever wants to be wrong. Everybody wants to be right. Nobody wants to have egg on their face. It's just not human nature to be so quick to admit wrong, and especially when it's egos and so-called science and big scale issues at work here. And so Newtonianism, I believe, was a very fraudulent, partially correct worldview that was foisted upon the world at the behest of the Royal Society and the Anglo-American establishment, particularly for the purpose of promoting, eventually it would become Darwinism and scientism, materialism, atomism. That's all nonsensical. And even if you don't buy into quantum physics and all that stuff, it's still, I think, historically accurate to point out the errors of the resultant materialism that comes out of all this. And the absurdity on top of that is Newton and all his buddies were alchemists. I've pointed this out for years, many times. When I was in undergrad, I watched this documentary that we had at the library on Newton. I couldn't believe it because it was all about Newton and his obsessions with alchemy and magic and all this stuff. And I really think he believed that. He wasn't just faking it or anything. He wasn't just a secret spy. He really believed that stuff. He's got volumes of writings on it that are, I believe, housed in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or somewhere.
Oh, welcome, Feet.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Are you over 18?
I'm 18.
Okay, what would you like to say?
I disagree with the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you give me some proof?
Yeah, like the fact that you're talking would require there to be the Christian God, because
No.
Sure there would.
No. What's your point? That's not a proof.
Well, don't you think that if it was true that God, the Christian God, was necessary for you to talk, then wouldn't that prove the
It's
Christian?
not necessary. It's not necessary to talk to have a God. This is not necessary. So your argument don't make sense.
Well, what if I mean, you're not even giving me a chance to demonstrate it.
Okay, demonstrate it then.
Okay, well, like every time you say the word ice cream, it sounds like ice cream. It doesn't sound like car or Coca-Cola or some other word, right?
Because we have vocal cords and we evolved to be able to communicate with our mouths. And ice cream, it's a word in English, but it can mean other things in other languages if you or it can look like another word in different languages. It really how you evolved and how you learned how to communicate with people.
Why are you bloviating? Like, do you want to learn how God is proven, or do you want to bloviate and preach some nonsense?
No, I'm asking you to prove something, and you're not giving me
going
proof.
on and on and on. I'm trying to explain to you, right? So, without if there was no order or consistency in the world, every time you try to say ice cream, it would sound like a different word. Like, It might sound like car, roof, or whatever, tree.
No,
Yeah, because
that's not true.
if everything was random all the time, then every time you try to say a word, it would be a random word.
Why do you say everything is random?
Because the world, I'm trying to explain to you how the world requires there to be some consistency in nature. If there's no consistency, every time you say a word, it's going to sound different.
Yeah, you need consistent. Oh my God, I can't say that word. But that doesn't mean God is real.
Yes, it does, because there's consistency in the world that allows for you to talk, because that's God's plan. He planned there to be consistency.
That's what you believe. But scientifically, we can prove otherwise. I'm asking you something objective that will prove that the Christian God is real. And you're telling me that the world is consistent, so therefore there's a God. That doesn't make sense.
It does, because there's no scientific proof that the world is consistent. There's no logical there's no logic, there's no rational proof that the world is consistent. So only if we accept God's revelation and his plan could we know that there would be like consistency to the world that would be necessary for you to talk.
Huh?
Science can't prove the consistency that you need to talk, and philosophers or like logic and reason can't prove it. So the only way we can prove the consistency if we accept God's revelation, Jesus's identity claims about himself, if we accept those, then we can explain the consistency that's needed for you to talk. That's the only way. There's no other way.
Well, we are human beings that have consciousness because we evolved from unicellular bacteria or whatever it is. And now we have a lot of cells and systems that make us living organism. And one of them is neurons. And what it does, it's giving like signals so that we can function as human beings.
Okay, that's a cool story, but you still need the story.
Story. The only story is the Bible. It's a story.
Right, we use a story to explain reality, and the story that explains reality coherently is the one in the Bible. Your story doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense because you're not smart enough to understand the concept, maybe.
Well, I'm smart enough to know that your story can't explain the order in the world that you need when you talk. So whenever you talk, you're assuming my story is true, whether you admit it or not.
What?
You need to the claims of the Bible have to be true for you to talk. So when you talk, you're basically admitting, whether you admit it or not, you're admitting that the Bible's true when you talk, because you can't talk without the Bible being true.
What do you mean?
I just walked you through it.
No, but that doesn't make any sense.
Of course it does. I walked you through the logic. It's
And
logical.
why is there so many languages? If there was a God, there will be only one language, the language of God, and everyone would speak that language. Why is there many languages then? It's not consistent.
I don't know
People
why.
say different things to mean, like people, the diverse languages, like they say words, they mean the same thing, but it does not come out the same. So how do you explain that?
I don't understand why that would be inconsistent with God. Why does everyone need to speak the same language? That has nothing to do with
You're saying I can say ice cream, and it comes, and every time I say it, it comes out a certain way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm talking about the consistency in the world. I'm not talking about the words.
But if it was consistent, everyone would speak the same language.
Thanks for coming. That doesn't follow. Hey, baby. What do you want? Welcome.
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you don't understand the concept of proof, dude.
Of course I do. I've read books.
You
about it. Yes, I do.
No, you do not.
Yes, I do. I know
No,
the four
infinity.
I know the 4 types of proof. There's empirical proof, rational proof, pragmatic proof, and transcendental proof.
You know the definition. You don't understand the concept.
Sure I do.
You keep bringing up things that are not proof.
That's
and
wrong.
saying they're proof.
That's wrong.
It's right, actually.
No. For there to be proof, you need uniformity of nature. There's no proof without uniformity of nature.
No, you don't. They are independent of each other.
But you wouldn't be able to observe anything without the uniformity of nature.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Of course I do.
No, you don't.
Bro, why are you... What?
You're basically retarded.
You can't say that word.
Go fuck yourself.
Wow, this is atheism, guys. They're so mean to my feelings. Well, if anyone cares about what I have to say, well, you don't have to listen to me. You can look up A.E. Taylor. A.E. Taylor. In discussing the question of the uniformity of nature, quote, he says, the fundamental thought of modern science, at any rate, was that there's this universal reign of law throughout nature. So nature is rational in the sense that it has everywhere a coherent pattern which we can progressively detect by the steady application of our own intelligence to the scrutiny of natural processes. Science has been built up all along on the basis of this principle of the uniformity of nature. And the principle is one which science itself has no means of demonstrating. No one could possibly prove its truth to an opponent who seriously disputed it, for all attempts to produce evidence for the uniformity of nature themselves presuppose the very principle they are intended to prove. So our argument as over against this would be that the existence of the God of Christian theism and the conception of his counsel as controlling all things in the universe is the only presupposition which can account for the uniformity of nature which the scientist needs. That's what's up. Bro, why did you lie about us having a beef? I never had a beef with you. Bro, why did you lie about
Wait,
us
hold up.
having a beef?
I got an echo. I got an echo.
I never had a beef
I got
with you.
an echo, bro. Hold up.
Why did you lie about us? That was crazy.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, you said we had beef. We never had beef.
Okay, yeah. So, precept, brother. Unfortunately, okay. You have totally taken the side of Darth, and you bashed my name for no reason. I had no problem with Darth Dog because I had no problem with you. I think you guys are great apologists. You guys obviously know I'm a flat earther. I've had to have conversations with Darth, and you guys just bashed my name online, bro. So, like, genuinely, I never had a beef with none of you boys. I've been on Darth Live. I've been on your live. Never had a problem. Right? We've debated together. We've taken down full panels of weak atheists. But when it comes to you talking behind my back and saying things on my name, bro, that's not okay. If you don't believe in flat earth, no problem. I would debate you on it. But you trying to talk about me like I'm unintelligent because I believe in flat earth and saying, oh, Q-top's up here and all this stuff that you be saying, bro, that's not right, man. That's not right to do.
Flat earth is weird. Like, you shouldn't. That's like crazy.
Yeah, so yes.
Like, if you're gonna tell people the earth is flat, then of course people are gonna think you're irrational. That's just the way it is, man. You can't get upset.
Damn, he left before I could say something. Damn.
You don't want to argue with me? You want to talk to Q-Top?
No, I believe the Earth is, a sphere, round. It's an Earth, globe.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously, right? But no, I don't got anything to. No.
Alright, I'm just gonna. I'll probably stream later. I'm gonna make some food.